Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Can't Be Censored. Before we begin, I have to read a brief note. This episode includes discussions of illness, suffering, suicidal ideation, and medical assistance in dying. The guest is sharing her personal experience and ongoing legal challenge. This conversation is not medical advice, it's not instruction, and it's not advocacy. So with that in mind, viewer and listener discretion is advised. Here now, our conversation.
Claire, hi. It's a really big deal for you to be here today. We read your story in the New York Times, and we started to try to find you. So Travis, called people he knew. We emailed and texted people that you had been previously connected to. They hadn't heard from you in months, sometimes years. And somehow we finally got a hold of you, and we realized that you don't leave your house very often. You don't see or speak to people, even your friends and family that you've known forever. So why did you want to be here with us today?
So there was a couple of reasons. Number one, I've seen so many panel discussions and discussions with guests. For me, 99% of the time, it's been experts, bioethicists, policymakers, psychiatrists, who all, their opinions are valuable, no question, but they were all speaking for us. Speaking for us, what we need, what we don't need, what people are going to think of us, what we're going to think of ourselves, our rights, what we're not entitled to as humans in this country. And I haven't done a live interview in decades, maybe no, like 15 years, but definitely not about this. Yeah. It was a different subject. And so I really wanted to, and I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because I'm grateful. I was basically shitting my pants all day yesterday. I felt like I was going to puke all day. I was like crying last night, but I felt like finally someone's asking us. And I am currently the only one being heard. Because we never get listened to. Everybody speaks for us. Everybody assumes for us. So I'm the only one being heard, and I have to capitalize on that. And then also, I found out about your story at the CBC, which resonated with me a lot because as someone with mental illness, I went through, not at the CBC, but a very similar process where they were just like, oh, cool, we've got 1 billion lawyers, best of luck. So that was another reason that it really resonated with me, because I was like, I just felt it on a visceral level.
I was fully prepared for a text message from you saying, I can't do this. Okay. So I thank you for coming to share your story. And some people may have read about this in the New York Times. There was a very long feature story with a reporter that followed you for years. It was in People magazine. It's been in Maclean's. But for folks meeting you for the first time, introduce them to who Claire is.
Oh, I'm amazing. No, I've had everything that one could ever want. I had a loving family. I had everything. I traveled. I'm bilingual. I became an actor at a young age. I moved to New York City. I got a lot of acting work in Canada. Then I moved to LA because I was doing a lot more stand-up comedy.
I've got bad luck dating. I had a really difficult time getting over my ex-boyfriend. He was this really good-looking, charming guy, right? He had a great sense of humor. He was always up for a good prank, right? Like, he would do this thing. I would be, like, washing the dishes or folding the laundry or whatever, and he would do this thing where he would sneak out and bone all of these women and then pretend that he didn't.
And I was finding success in stand-up, which got me more work as an actor, and it kind of fed into each other. And then I sold a show based on my life to E1 and CBC.
Yeah.
And so E1 and CBC put it into development, and I could feel my health at that point just the trend hasn't been this for me for a long time, but it really started to dip.
So you say you have been on a steady decline.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point where that decline, it started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the times kind of before that, and was there a point where you were happy?
Yeah, there were. I mean, I've always been sick.
Yeah.
So I would say, my mid-20s, when I started getting real acting work, when I started making money, I had a boyfriend who I loved. I had friends. I loved it. I had an apartment in Toronto and one in Montreal, and I was just going back and forth in both cities working. Then by the time I turned 28, I was drinking so heavily and doing so many drugs that I turned yellow.
Why did that start?
Oh, I've been drinking since I was 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and drugs, because I love fun.
So things started to snowball is what you're saying.
Snowball, yeah. And I started to just get sick, and it was the kind of sick where I just stand back and watch it happen. I just watch it happen.
So folks are going to watch this and they're going to say, okay, there's obviously addiction involved here, addiction issues. But what are some of the other diagnoses that you have? Just give us a list and how those symptoms kind of show up.
Okay, so when I was 14, I was brought to the doctor because I was modeling and my parents caught me puking up my food. And they brought me to the doctor, and the doctor was like, and sent me to a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist diagnosed me with manic depression, which is now bipolar disorder. I have type 1, which means that I'm more, I get into full mania instead of hypomania. And I've been in psychosis, not to show off, but I have been in psychosis a couple of times. And so I have that. So I have disordered eating. I have substance use disorder. I have ADHD. I have full PTSD. But to be clear, I wanted MAiD before that. And I have videos of me begging for it. So
yeah, let's get into MAiD, or medically assisted suicide.
Yeah.
At what point did you think that was your only solution?
When it became legal. Yeah. I thought I was a person for some reason. I thought,
To be clear, like you had attempted to end your life.
Oh,
sometimes.
Yes. My body is ruined. It's also part of the reason I'm terrified to go out.
Yeah.
Is this just like...
I want to show you a clip here. This is a video, not in one snippet of time, but over the course of time.
I live in a vacuum. I might have liked a life. I might have been good at it. I use the basement if it's imperative for me to leave my building. There's no email, there's no texting, there's no phone, there's no nothing beyond logistics. My loved ones still try, but I can't speak. I go months without human touch, and I need it that way. I can't do it. I can't function.
I had been kind of taking these video diaries to show people what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you watch that, no words have changed from 2022, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
We're going to start talking about MAiD more in depth here. And also, this is such a controversial issue. There are so many really passionate opinions about it. But before we get into that section of the interview, tell folks what interventions you've tried.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the greatest hits. So I've been antidepressants, obviously.
Yeah.
Antipsychotics, benzos, stimulants, Z-drugs, mood stabilizers, therapies. I've tried cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, family-focused therapy, group therapy.
And this is over the course of years.
Oh, this is 35 years.
Yeah.
In LA, New York City, Montreal, Toronto. Psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, 12 steps. I've tried everything.
Yeah. Because folks will watch this and will say, well, obviously
There's always something else,
there's always something else to try.
right? And that's always an argument I'm sure you hear.
Bombarded.
Yeah.
You should, my psychiatrist after that article, bombarded with, she didn't try this, has she tried this, has she tried that?
And you're just close to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I try to reply to my messages on Substack at least. I try. My priority is the people who are like me, because they write me and they're like, how much longer? Where are you at in court? Is it going to happen then? I can't wait any longer. Please, and I have to recognize my hypocrisy, write them back, beg them to hang on for one more day. We can't do this without them, because they see us. I'm a population.
Where do things stand right now with your legal challenge with the feds?
Not as far as I'd like.
Yeah.
But so all I know is that legislation moves at a snail's pace. If the snail was like, I'm going to take a little siesta right now, because it is, and I know, because not only have I been waiting, but I'm suing them. So it takes so long. So I really don't know when this is going to happen. I see the government fast-tracking laws for other people's suffering and for potential suffering, and I see them fast-track laws. They will not fast-track this one, and the reality is that this has nothing to do with medicine. This has to do with politics.
You think people aren't comfortable with the idea of allowing people with mental illness to choose MAiD?
100%.
And that they're just, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but maybe you tell me, what do you think the delay is about?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's not palatable, right? People are like, wait a minute, so she can just do that? It's not palatable. It is also something that will touch so few people.
Yes.
Like directly.
Yeah.
Right.
So few people. So it is so divisive and very easy to make a strong opinion about it based on these little sound bites. A lot of them bullshit. And it's easy to sensationalize, which is why I wanted to come here, because,
Yeah. So
some of that sensationalization comes from some really, powerful stories of people who want MAiD. Maybe, I'm sure you saw the story about the person who didn't have housing and applied. But those stories are sometimes incomplete, right? They're incomplete. They come from maybe sometimes from the family side. The person's dead, so we can't get their side. So I think maybe let's put some of the misconceptions about MAiD from your perspective to bed. So, for example, you didn't come to the decision easily to seek this.
No.
But the process to get it isn't easy either.
No. And it's a huge misconception, because those who are against it make it sound very easy. Oh, she got talked into it. Oh, he was on a day pass. That is not how it works. There are so many checkpoints. There are so many people involved. It is an extensive review of your entire medical history. They speak to your loved ones. Mm-hmm. There are various assessments with different doctors. They're not your doctor. It's for objectivity, because I've heard one bioethicist say it's like two strangers. Yeah, it is two strangers, exactly, for objectivity. They consult your physicians, your psychiatrist. They go through everything. Then they assess you. Then you have to go through the thing of getting your, I don't understand it, but your clinician A1A or whatever. And then they have to watch you sign it. A different person watches you sign it. So this idea of like a rubber stamped MAiD, it is silly. And a lot of it is like offensive in its stupidity.
Okay, so we're going to get into it now.
Okay.
In terms of these opposing viewpoints. And I know that, a lot of people will be very upset that we even have you here having this discussion because they are so passionately opposed to the concept of MAiD because they believe that we are on a very slippery slope as a country. I have been researching this. There are arguments that some are now romanticizing the idea of death. I guess they would put you in that category. That I was watching a prominent YouTuber doctor say that compassionate and empathetic care is how the Nazis started their euthanasia program. So like when you hear all of that, and I will be clear, as I said at the beginning, we're not advocating for one side or the other here, but when you hear that, what is your response?
These are that's far reaching with the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, I have not heard that one, but
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Okay, well, that makes sense. 12 rules for being a fucking creep, leader of the incels. Makes total sense now that he would say that. He's spread lies about MAiD all over. He just talks out of his ass. So, okay, then it means nothing to me. But, all of his incels will be like, it's true. Sure. Then don't go to the doctor. If you think all your doctors are like secretly like, psh, why? Don't go. Like, I don't understand. That's just me. But what I would say is that, number one, it's for him, especially philosophically lazy, for him to reduce it to feelings other than sickness and constant torment and unrelenting pain, just because, and his job, of all jobs, you can't see the organ. I'm sorry. The consciousness is where the suffering is, and I'm sorry if people can't see that. In terms of, was he suggesting eugenics or something like that?
He was basically saying that that we should not be allowing the state to decide who lives or dies.
Right. Well, MAiD is legal in this country, and the government recognizes, subjective pain as long as it is constantly monitored. As it recognizes that. So if it's going to recognize that kind of pain that might not be like extremely imminent death, but you're going, you're going, it's not getting better. They recognize that. So to exclude us because of the organ it's coming from and they can't see it is discrimination, full stop.
One of the other arguments is that people who want to use MAiD who have mental illness can't give consent because they are, it's just like you got Form 1, right?
Yeah.
It's people get involuntarily treated medically because they're deemed not medically able to make their own decisions because of their mental illness. So do you have a response to that sort of argument?
Yeah. So first of all, yes. Anyway, I don't speak to actual people, so I'm not used to speaking. Yes. First of all, psychiatrists assess our ability and our capacity to be, to have our own autonomy, to live on our own, to function on our own. And when we're not safe and when we're not okay to do that. And that's why they form us. They put us in involuntarily or they keep us in for whatever reason. And that's why we're allowed to leave. That's their job, part of their job. If you can't do that job, well then. So I think for that argument, the bottom line is, are psychiatric patients able to make decisions that impact the rest of their lives and their autonomy? Are they able to make that decision logically ever? And if they are, then it's discrimination to disallow it for us. And if we're not, then psychiatry is based on a lie. And I'm not saying you have to be for it, but if you're actively against it because that, Their argument means I should have been in the hospital every day of my life.
So you think that there is, you can consent to it because to summarize exactly what Carmen said, like there are folks that are saying, okay, on the one hand, you're saying I'm not of sound mind, but on the other hand, I am of sound mind enough to consent to this being administered.
100%. So if I get cancer tomorrow and I refuse treatment, it's totally fine. Even though it will result in death, it's fine. And I could refuse electroconvulsive therapy, and that's also fine. I'm well enough to refuse that treatment. This is a medical procedure, like any other medical procedure. People say we're dying from MAiD. That is not it.
Yeah.
It's a compassionate answer to a death that's inevitable.
And for those that say, okay, this is Claire avoiding responsibility to try to get better, her giving up hope, and one day perhaps she could get better because this is not cancer, it's mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, listen, mental illness doesn't have a trajectory the way most illnesses do.
Right.
And that's true. I could get better. I don't dispute that. I've been better so many times.
Yeah.
I stopped playing the I'll always be sick, I'll never get better game in my 30s because we all play that game. I know I could get better. I've been better before. But
why is that hope then not strong enough to want to continue to live? If you're, saying, yeah, I could potentially get better.
My core belief is that anything can happen because anything happens all the time. But I am done. I have lost everything. Could I get back up and start telling jokes? No, I cannot, because then I'd have to be in public and see people and I'd lose my mind. I have to get my prescriptions delivered, let alone everything else. Like I can't be, and it's too late.
Yeah.
And I know some doctors will be like, it's not. And, but they're sticking with to allow us MAiD is us abandoning you. Instead, it's showing us some mercy and realizing that there is treatment-resistant depression. That there is lifelong problems with eating disorders. And I mean, when they say they can manage my symptoms, are they going to fix the body parts that I've ruined? Are they going to fix the substance abuse? Are they going to fix the eating? Are they going to fix all that? Or are they going to manage it by me locked in 600 square feet for 4.5 years, 35 years of wanting to die, even at my best? I was in remission at 39, and all I did was starve myself and look good in clothes. And I didn't look good in clothes because I became a skeleton, and I was still like, huh? And then it just stopped working. And it's...
So, strangers saying, okay, she can get better is one thing, right? But you've got two of your doctors who fundamentally disagree with this. This was featured in the New York Times. They interviewed two of your care providers. One says, essentially, she can get better. The other says, essentially, this is discrimination. So whose voice carries more weight? And also, when you've got two different opinions like that, how do you kind of circle that square in your head?
The thing about Jedi Mind Tricks, man psychiatrist, is that it's not that he's against it.
Yeah.
Because again, he does believe in equality and he does believe in body autonomy.
Yeah.
And I asked him about this after the article.
Yeah.
Because in the article, he says, I don't think it's the best choice for her. And I asked him, what is the best choice for me?
Yeah.
What do you think that is? And he just told me again what he said. I know he respects me. My other doctor is not wanting me to die either. It's just recognition that it's discrimination. I think his thing is more, I don't want to give up on her because he's made me get well. before. He's seen it, but it never lasts. It never lasts. And every time I just fall further and further. The more ECT I do, the more I forget, the more my cognition becomes impaired, the more my relationships are destroyed, the more my reputation or my work is finished. I mean, I live below the poverty line. Yeah. I'm done. Yeah. And that's not why. It's not because I'm poor. I'd also like to quickly point out the thing about poverty and vulnerability is that people...
Because someone said those are social issues, and that is, some of these situations are a result of social issues that need to be fixed.
100%. I'm not sure why people think that is exclusive to mental illness, because I used to volunteer and I've met some people who just had cancer, plain old, everyday, regular cancer. And that's not an issue for them. I mean, they had a really hard time getting access to resources. It wasn't easy for them either. Yes, there are huge problems dealing with the people who are not secure with their housing, or, they have no access to mental health resources and all of that. But that is completely true. Yeah. Take care of that problem.
Yeah, because that's what people are saying, right? All of these social issues that the government has been trying to, but hasn't really dealt with, says they're trying to deal with.
Don't you think we just separate the ethics of MAiD and then all these other social issues that need attention outside of MAiD, regardless of MAiD, right? Like, I think I would almost treat it as two separate things.
Yeah, but people do put them together, saying, okay, this person, has this situation, and now they think the only option for them is death, right? So that the two issues are somewhat linked, no?
They are and they aren't.
Okay.
I think that first, I've met a lot of people who are homeless. Yeah. They're homeless. I don't mind saying the word because they don't. Anyway.
Unhoused, supposed to be, right?
No, I'm like, congratulations.
Clearly, we're not politically correct.
You fixed it. Yeah. Did they care? No. And I only because I asked a few of them. But I've never met anybody that was homeless or that was living on the streets or that was living in their car very poor. I never met one who wanted to die. I never met one that was struggling with trying to stay alive. I met a few that were struggling with mental health issues.
Addiction issues, etc.
Yeah, addiction issues. Some of them were just divorce was expensive, car broke down, broke a tooth, can't afford anything, can't get a job. Yeah. Like a lot of that, and definitely mental health is more on the street. It's why we're not policymakers. It's why we're not psychiatrists. Some of us are. But it's hard for us we're not out in the streets because we can't get a job. We can't live. So I would say that people are making a lot of assumptions, again, and you can point out poverty and pat yourself on the back and say, that exists. Also, MAiD exists. You know what that means? MAiD is bad, which is assuming that is your own shit. That is you making up and I'm not going to dispute the fact that, yes, it is a more vulnerable population. Yeah. But talking them into MAiD and suggesting MAiD and all of that stuff is not happening. It is not a thing. That is not how they will be approved. Again, long chain of command.
We did want to get into the nuance and hear your story. But we also, we might have a conversation at some point with folks that have opposing views, and we'll push back on them as heavily. But we do want to hear from your mom now, because I think, as I said, other people are going to be impacted by this decision, and we want to bring in Mary Lou.
Yeah. All right, we welcomed Mary Lou, who's your mother, onto the set to talk with us as well. Thank you for joining us here. And you've been sitting here listening to your daughter talk about this, and I think you've probably heard her speak about this over the years. Does it ever get easier?
Doesn't get easier. I understand completely what she's doing, why, and I've lived it. So I understand it completely, and I support her.
Was there a point where you thought, maybe I can change her mind? Or from the beginning when she brought this to you, were you on board?
I've seen this with Claire since she was 3 years old.
Huh.
I used to think she was a little monkey because she would act up. And we are very close. But I could see that there was something very different from other children. And as she became a teenager, it was volatile. And she's intelligent, very smart, very funny, but it's all self-deprecation. She cannot exist the way most people do. She has highs and lows that are hell on earth. And I've lived through some of them with her. And no parent wants to go through this.
What do you mean by that? Like, tell me a little bit about what you...
I have had to be there she won't go to a hospital if she hurts herself. I have had to be a nurse to horrendous bandages over and over, just to help her to heal.
Sure.
And it doesn't heal, but I have to do the best I can. That's physical. It's the same with the mental, because there are so many times that I have to go and just sit with her for days while she just is in I don't even know what you would call it. It's hell.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Claire mentioned that she doesn't talk to one of her sisters the last few years. So how do you talk to family and friends about what Claire is going through? Do you, or how do you?
Yeah, because aren't you the conduit?
I have a very small circle of friends, and I would say 1% of them support what I say and believe. Family members, no. In fact, maybe two or three, not immediate family.
Okay.
No. Our inter-family.
I know my nuclear family.
Yeah,
Right.
but the others, they won't speak about it. They circle around it. They feel for us.
Yeah.
But I know if we got into a discussion, they'd say, I don't understand. Even though they have seen what has happened with Claire her whole life.
How do you respond? Like, what do you say then in that situation?
What can I say? It's your decision to think what you want.
Huh.
I just hope to God you never have to have a child that walks in our shoes.
Well, and tell me what that is like emotionally, because I know parents who have lost children say that there is no greater pain on this earth. How do you wrap your head around that reality, and what is this like emotionally as a mother?
Emotionally as a mother, it's devastating. However, if Claire had a physical disease and was in extreme pain, I have watched people die of extreme pain, and I have watched Claire. And the only difference is theirs are things that you can see on a monitor. You can't see her brain, but I know what's going on with her brain, and it's killing her. So I guess because I'm so close to her, I see it. Some people don't have that advantage, and I call it an advantage because maybe someday they're going to have somebody and they'll have to try to understand it.
Will you be there when she dies?
Absolutely. I support what Claire is deciding to do because she needs to end her pain.
Have you thought about what those final words to her might be like?
I can't do that. I can't do that. But I'll be there, and I'm ready for her decision.
I mean, there are parents that are going to watch this and say, I don't know how I could watch my child die.
No, I understand that completely. Yeah. And believe me, it's not a choice I would make normally.
Yeah.
I love my two girls to death. I mean, I would die before them. I would die for them. But this is something that the pain is just too great. I see you watering up, and I know, because that's how I feel all the time. It's
not easy.
It's not an easy thing, and that's why I think so many of my family and friends don't understand why I would support it. But you have to be there to understand when your child is in that kind of pain. I can remember the girls both have asthma. When they were little, they were in the hospital at Sick Kids a lot. And I would see little her age, 4 years old, with the IVs and bald, and you could tell they weren't going to live for very long because of their pain.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
You don't want her to suffer anymore.
No, I don't. I mean, it would be devastating, but I can't have her suffer like I've seen her suffer.
Do you hold out hope? I guess it's obvious the answer to this is no, but I mean, ask Claire the question. You know, one of her doctors saying whether there might be a light here, where there might be some hope to get better. Do you see that at all, or no?
No, I don't. It's like saying, you know, if you have some devastating cancer,
yeah,
well, there might be hope if we do this, but we're not sure. So do you let that person continually be in severe pain, or do you let that person decide, I don't want it anymore, I can't deal with it?
So, Claire, for you, I mean, obviously, your mother is in pain as well, going through this. What is it like for you on the other side watching that?
My entire life, that's what I've watched my entire life. Just me. And I know it's the illness. I'm not saying it was not, you know, it was not by design, but I've watched myself just make fissures in the whole family my whole life because it has been so difficult. That is not a reason to die. That is not a reason to, if, you know, your mercy and your capacity goes as far as it will go. But the thing about that people seem to misunderstand is that it is not, there's a huge difference between a crisis and severe and persistent mental illness. And they will not be giving MAiD to somebody who's in crisis, and they won't be doing it in terms of the severity of crisis. It will be chronological order. And people like me have to wait months. And I can tell you with assuredness that those months that you're waiting, for me, I was supposed to be 3, you're staring down the barrel of death. That in itself, that kind of existential like angst at the very best, that weeds out a lot of people. That's why the Benelux numbers did not surprise me between the number of applications and the number of people who completed it, because it acts as its own filter. It's scary. Death is scary.
You're scared?
Oh, yeah.
I
tell you.
I've
I've done it a couple of times. It's
Try
not
to.
the best.
Yeah.
I can tell you how I can't count the hundreds of times I get a call and Claire says, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to jump off my balcony. I don't want that. I don't want that for her to be alone and have that terrible, terrible thing happen.
I don't want my street to have that. I don't want the little girl down the street to find my shoe.
But that's what it's like. I mean, she knows that she can't live in this world anymore. She looks great now. She may be fine now. This is 10 minutes of her life. This is not all day. If you had seen in the car this morning or if you'd seen yesterday, no. This is just now to show the world that she has a voice that she wants to show for Canada.
It's very, very easy to sit up in an ivory tower and say, I'm a bioethicist. Parts of the charter are okay. Like, because when you're sitting around reading the Charter of Rights of Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which we all do for fun, right? You look through the charter, you're like, oh, Chrétien, Trudeau, treaties. Not Claire. This is not. So
she's not funny.
She always has
so
humor.
funny,
That's
right?
the funny part, because she'll be crying and on the floor and in hypomania, and then she'll tell a joke.
Yeah, the reason
It's
I
just-
got restrained.
we're secret.
What do you think you're going to miss most about your daughter?
The love we have between each other, the respect we have for each other. We both believe in God. We both are not atheists and think that there's nothing to life itself. But there's also a time in life when you say enough is enough. Like I say, I've seen people die. I've been with them at a hospital bed, and that's it. And that's where we're at.
I'm Catholic.
And you don't think it's up to God when you go?
I do.
I think God understands this situation. I've thought of it many times. God would understand when somebody's suffering like this.
Yeah, and also, the Catholic Church is a lot more about mercy than it is to make someone endure
pain.
Yeah, and not to get Jesus involved. A lot of people think I'm not into him. A lot of people say, you haven't known Jesus. I'm like, I love the guy. He didn't spend his time going around yelling about rules. He spent his time going around being merciful and understanding.
Yeah.
I
feel as though you've both come to peace with this.
I actually talked a long talk last week with a man of the Muslim faith.
Uh-huh.
And he is of the same, because for some wild reason, he has a brother that is like Claire. And he said, I agree with you. I believe in peace. And I believe in love. And I do not believe in suffering. And I pray for him. And this is this man who I've never met before. And he said, and I want what's best for him because he's suffering so much.
Do you worry if she's going to be okay if this happens?
Yeah, I worry all the time. My dad, too. My dad and my mom. Part of me was like, you guys can go in the other room while this happens at the end. But there is some finality that I think they need to be there. But I don't want to go out seeing the sadness. There's been too much. I just need peace and love for a moment. Just a moment.
And our family of 4, my older daughter, Claire, my ex-husband, and me, we were a very tight, integral family for a very long time, even with all that was happening with Claire. So we want to be that tight family when she decides.
And Mary Lou, your final thoughts about what your daughter's going through and what you want to tell people.
I want to see her at peace. She hasn't been at peace for a very long time. Having to admit her for hospitals, having to call the police, having to look at the injuries, having to see the episodes, having to visit her in the hospital when she's having electrotherapy. It's all too much. She has tried so hard.
Yeah.
And when you can do no more, then you have to give in. You have to give it.
Claire, I'm going to let you have the last word, which has profound meaning in this interview.
I don't want anybody to have to choose this at all. I don't want my worst enemy to ever feel the way that I feel. But I also think people like me need to be recognized as equal human beings and not a weird subsection of human. And that you need to, I know we're not always right. They're not going to give us MAiD when it's questionable. We are capable of making our own decisions most of the time. Otherwise, we'd be in the hospital. So I'd just like people to consider a little bit further beyond, I realize, a crazy woman's word up to a psychiatrist, a bioethicist, a expert. I realize who you're going to believe, but lived experience is imperative, and I just would ask people to open their heart and to show some mercy and some confidence in our medical system.
I know it was very difficult for both of you to be here today, so I want to thank you for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you so much. People will say, how come she can come out and do this? People will say that.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And, I would say to that people with cancer also can sometimes find their way to walk their daughter down the aisle, or, this was really important to me, so I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
If you like this episode and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you again next time.